Everybody. This is your host, Tim Tack. Other folks around Iowa City and PATV around here call me Tack Fu. I'll be your host for the third installment of Screenwriting Tips with my guest, Tyler Smith. Okay, here he is. Here is us. As you can see, I've got my trusty rusty notes to ask him. This was the third installment, and but we're going to continue where we're off. But before we continue on, we're going to address something that has been brought up between segment number 2 and segment number 3. That is the age-old arts versus commerce. That's the business and the artistic. Tyler, take it away.
Yeah. Well, it's said that the problem with show business is that the problem with the art end of it is that it's a business, and the problem with the business end of it is that it's an art. You know, and these are two goals are very contradictory. Yeah, and let me give you an example of that. During the 50s, a lot of the decisions in Hollywood were made by accountants, basically. And they would look at, okay, a certain type of genre like science fiction. And science fiction, you make a science fiction movie for $100,000, you know, a kiddie film, and you know it'd make $200,000. And so they made a lot of very bad science fiction movies in the 50s. And science fiction had such a bad reputation, it was considered a notch above porno. And serious artists usually stay away from it like it was the plague. John Agger, when his career hit rock bottom after he was worked with John Wayne in, I think it was, what was that movie he did with John Wayne? Yellow Ribbon or something like that. But
I don't know, John Wayne, he did about, what,
100 million films?
190 films, 200, all you John Wayne enthusiasts. Yeah. Give us a call at PATV and tell us the amount of movies John Wayne appeared in his life. Like, I don't care.
A couple hundred,
not a big
probably.
John Wayne fan,
yeah.
But go.
Yeah, but John Agger, he was in, John Wayne movie, and when he did science fiction later, you knew his career had hit rock bottom. That was how bad a reputation science fiction had. And he had a problem that Forbidden Planet came out in the 50s, and they spent $2 million on the film, and you spend usually the same amount advertising and distributing it. So the movie comes out, so by the time you're done, it's closer to $4 million that they've invested in this film, and it made $1 million back. So that reinforced the idea, okay, you spend $100,000 on a science fiction film, you get $200,000. Don't spend $2 million, you're just losing your money. So that was one of the problems, was that they weren't willing to spend a lot of money on science fiction films. It's funny because in the 50s, science fiction films had the problem of usually being poorly written and not having enough money. Now, at the turn of the century, we have the problem of they are poorly written and have too much money. So you have the opposite problem now with movies like Transformers, just idiotic film. It's basically a 2-hour toy commercial, but they had a ton of money to spend on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think everyone was pretty much in the know, if you know anything about films. It was basically just, that whole thing was just to, I don't know, what was the tie-in with Transformers? Was it Taco Bell?
No, well,
and to sell toys?
Yeah, well, Transformers is a toy that was popular, and they made a movie out of the toy. So basically, like Mario Brothers was made into a movie. Mortal Kombat was made into a movie. Games and toys are being made into movies. Built-in audience, they're fans of the games or the toys, who you're hoping they'll see it.
Yeah, of course. So decisions made by accountants. Now, this would be kind of similar to the old arts versus the commerce, but I mean concrete decisions made by accountants. That means like actually deleting scenes and maybe changing plot and rewriting the script. How does this affect, or what your take is on decisions made by accountants?
Well, a good example of that is your bad sequels that you see made after you have a hit film. Let me give you 2 examples: Grease and The Sting, where basically you took the big stars that were in the first film and you dumped them for smaller stars to be in the sequel. And you just rehash the same plot line that you had in the first film. You know, both movies were basically poor carbon copy ripoffs that fell into the problem of replicant fading. And both movies I just thought were really quite bad. I thought Grease 2 was just the cheap imitation of Grease 1, and the same with The Sting 2.
Yeah, but you're also forgetting another that I thought was the first one was good. Was that Caddyshack 2? Caddyshack 2, put that one in that.
Well, yeah, there are exceptions to the rules, but I'm saying that a lot of times the accountants say, okay, we know the first one was a hit. We'll get enough people to see the sequel, We'll just not spend a lot of money on it, time and energy.
Yeah, I understand. Well, that's just trying to cash in on something that was good the first time. Yeah, that definitely is a decision made by an accountant or somebody high up in the food comes to making movies. Okay, now, for those of you that watched number 2, we kind of we kind of cut it because we ran out of time, so we're going to continue with the questions. I don't know if you watched the first time, but we're just going to go right into it. And I've got my trusty, rusty notes here. Got them here. I think we left off with Alice doesn't live here anymore. You saw it, and you liked the film for the skill it was made rather than how the story was.
Yeah, that's an interesting experience I have, and other people in the business have, where you'll watch a movie and you'll be sucked into the skill of the filmmakers, rather than actually, I loved the movie, but I loved it because I was looking at it and it didn't go for any of the cliches or cheap shots usually associated with a film like that. It's a story that is based on a woman's experience, rather than a story based on what some studio or some marketing research people says this will work. This is what'll sell to people. It's a real, honest to God, artistically made film that's made from the heart. It's made from the gut, and it's like we're going to say what we want to say about what's going on with women, what's going on in the world, and we don't give a hoot in hell what any marketing research person or accountant up there thinks. We're going to do what we want to see, and we're going to make a film we care and are passionate about. And that was it surprised me so much because I was talking with my sister LaDawn, and she was saying how sad a story that was. And it was a sad story, but at the same time, it was like I was like, yeah, but I'm so glad that someone told an honest story, that wasn't a panderfest to some group that they're marketing to.
Yeah, the demographics, the demographics. Skip to Anaconda. Now you said when the character John Voight died.
Yeah, the character died. John Voight played died.
Yeah, the character that John Voight played, or John Voight, yeah, whatever. Yeah, you said the movie died when he was, axed.
Yeah, well, the thing was when I saw that film, I got to tell you, when I first went in to see Anaconda, I went in with really low expectations because a giant snake going around eating everyone, it just didn't sound like that story to me. It sounded kind of stupid, but the thing was it wasn't about the snake, it was about John Voight's character, his quest to capture this snake and make a profit off of it. And to me, he's kind of like Captain Ahab in Moby Dick. You see what I'm saying? A man on a mission, a man with an obsession, a man with a goal. And he was such an interesting character. And I liked his character because he was very quirky, he was interesting, and they had a real ambiguity to his character where he claims that he was a preacher earlier. Well, we don't know if he really was a preacher or not. That's all just left up in the air. And where the audience is speculating years after watching this movie, was this guy really a preacher originally? Or is this, just more of his, yarns, more of his nonsense that this guy is spinning out here? And to me, his character was so interesting, and it was so three-dimensional. His character was so complex and quirky that when he finally dies in the movie, the villain of the story, I was just so disappointed. I was like, oh my God, this movie just got a lot less interesting. That was my response when he died. Rather than cheering the villain's fall, I was like, oh my God, they just killed off the most interesting character in this film. Well, I hope they wrap it up quickly now, which they did. But yeah, I liked the movie Anaconda, but I liked it mostly for John Voight, his performance and the character he played.
All right, all right.